The overwhelming response to the interview I conducted with my wife on single mothers has caused me concern because I had one of the highest number of viewers on TikTok responding to this issue of single mothers and the dynamics of it. We had a lot of inboxes of people asking for connections to be married and stuff like that. Although that was not the point. The point was the Australian men are looking for women from Asia and not particularly from Africa. So you can watch the interview with my wife. But this has caused me a concern regarding our plight in Kenya. What I did is I went into the statistics on the demographics regarding single mothers in Kenya, and I got perturbed because according to the Kenya Demographics and Health Survey, KDHS 2022, there was about 39% of households in Kenya headed by women, many of them single mothers. There is a conservative estimate of 4 to 4.5 million single mothers in Kenya. That's a conservative estimate. And I read somewhere else that roughly 65% of these single mothers work in informal sectors with very low incomes. About 40% of single mothers are in the cities, in informal settlements. So they are facing housing insecurity. So nearly half of Kenyan children live with their mothers alone. Half of Kenyan children. So if we are talking of, I don't know how many children we'll be estimating in Kenya, half of them are living with their mothers alone. So what does this mean to our Kenyan government? What does this mean to us? What impact does this have? Let me just explain one or two things based on these statistics, because when we shared about getting a Muzungu husband, I didn't realize how big of a crisis we are facing in Kenya and how this crisis impacts our community. So the whole issue of having these numbers is very, very alarming, because what does it mean? It means that we have millions of children growing up without consistent male role models. It means that the income these single mothers get, which is from the informal sector, they are not working in high-profile jobs, is stretched across food, rent, school fees, and medical care. So you can see that this is a crisis which I think we are in denial. We are assuming that Kenya, there are very few single mothers. It's a big crisis. Then we have the identity crisis of boys struggling with masculinity and girls struggling with self-worth. The whole issue of the response from the many that responded took me on a journey of thinking from a scriptural point of view, because I'm a theologian, from a governmental point of view, because I'm interested with how does government respond to the crisis, and even looking at the non-government organizations, because I realize that there are those who have attempted. I was told there is what you call the SMAC, Single Mothers Association of Kenya, and other groups which are attempting to do something, because unless we think this issue from a holistic point of view, personally or as a couple, we cannot get this 4 to 5 million women husbands in Australia or Europe. We need to think of a way of sorting this thing up from within the country, because we are looking at issues that not only affect order, divine order. So I was mentioning that what God gave first to Adam was work. And what God gave first to the woman is a husband. And no wonder the women have responded to that issue of the husband, getting a Muzungu husband, and the issue of single mothers. No wonder the women have responded, because according to divine order, women are created they are very relational. They think in terms of relationship. When my wife was introducing herself yesterday, she explained she's born again, spirit-filled, demon-chasing. Then she said she's a mother of 3. In most cases, if a man introduces himself, he will introduce himself from the perspective of work. I'm Apostle Simon Karaoke, this is what I do. But a lot of women introduce themselves in terms of relationship. So relationship comes central. So when that goes wrong, for example in Kenya, we are having to overload the single mothers with the mandate of looking for work to fend for the children, while that responsibility was primarily meant for the man to be the provider, the priest, and the prophet of the home, and to bring purpose to the home. So when that goes missing in the home or in the life of the single mother, then she's got to be the priest, the provider, the prophet, the one bringing purpose. Then there is an upside down thing happening in the home, which was not the divine order of things. So for us to be able to fix this thing, we must also go back to the divine order, to the original purpose of marriage and the roles and responsibilities as defined from the scripture. Because when a woman gets married to a man, he not only brings covering, there were those roles and responsibilities. And I'm saying this lightly, knowing that in the world today, like Australia, all of us must come on board, work, and help one another in the roles and responsibilities. But this is a situation that we need to think about, because already if we have 4 to 5 million single mothers, that's an enough constituency to even produce a president. Remember, if we voted the current president with 7 million, and I say this is a conservative figure, the single mothers can vote a single mother as president in Kenya very easily if they came together. So, but our policies, are they sympathetic to our situation? How much focus are we having as church leaders on single mothers ministry? How much empowerment ministry do we have? Because a lot of them want to be married possibly to the Mzungus because of economics. What if we have chamas, microfinance programs, and other programs that will focus on empowering these women, so that they are not just looking for the husband for the wrong reason, they are looking because they want to be part of the divine order, not as a means to get money or escape the hardships and the realities of our Kenyan environment. So I would want you to comment more on this, because the whole issue has received a lot of response from many people on my TikTok. Maybe 15,000 have watched. And I thought this is an important issue. We might not get 15,000 women husbands in Australia. And after all, Australians are not looking in, their eyes are not on Africa. They are in Asia. But I think this demands us to think what can be done to bring a solution on what we call the single mothers crisis. And so the whole issue of corruption does not help, because when Kenya is corrupt, for example, it means that among the groups of people that are suffering most are the single mothers. So the Lord bless you. Get back to me on this matter. I would want to hear your thoughts. Thank you. Simon Kariuki coming to you from Melbourne.